No star?
Strongly worded letter to the management.
I call them in an opera voice.
It's kind of a threat.
Hello guys, welcome to NovaPod. My name is Katya and I'm really happy to see you all today. So before we start our main conversation, could you please answer a question for me just as a little introduction? So, are you a strict teacher usually?
Okay, I'll go first. I'm Sarah and I am a fun but firm teacher.
That's a good
Interesting
explanation.
combination.
Yeah, I have my structures in place and we can have fun, but you still need to learn and do what you're told. A bit more of the authoritarian kind of.
I think I'm also fun but serious, but then also I can be like super childlike and silly. But it's very dependent. I think I'm very adaptable because it depends on the student and the day, how much energy I have.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
I see. And you, Steven?
I would say I'm kind of a little bit of what Tegan and Sarah said. I am maybe a little bit too fixated on manners. So for me, manners make a big difference to me. And also like Sarah said, I have my structures, I have my boundaries, and within those we can have fun. Yeah, so like for example, I have a student who just wants to play tic-tac-toe the whole time.
That's the infamous
whole
tic-tac-toe.
And so for me, I find that kind of student a little bit challenging because I'm like, no, we have to finish this and then we can play. But yeah, I would say I'm a little bit on the stricter side, I think.
On a stricter side.
Interesting. Stephen, I have a quick question. What would you say if your student gets in the classroom and only says hi all the time? Hi.
And that's it. Only
That's
hi.
it. Yeah. There's no other, like you've built a rapport with this student and it's just hi. And then you say, how are you? Fine. Like, how would you feel about that?
Before. I get very anxious. Let's just put it like that. I get quite anxious. Yeah, that for me is very challenging because I almost don't know where to go from there.
Really?
I'm a fun teacher for sure.
You're a fun teacher.
I am a fun teacher.
Well, we've got quite the array of stricter teachers here, so you bring some variety. Anne?
I'm at the middle. I could be strict. It depends upon the level.
What levels are you stricter with? Like, do you have a level of choice to be more strict?
I treat every student as an individual. So it depends.
Yeah, some of them do need a bit of that discipline, and some of them will maybe cry.
Something like that, because you cannot be strict and you cannot be fun all the time.
I try to be as fun as possible, but I am quite strict. And if I can still practice the grammar with the student, even though they are making silly sentences. I've got 2 kids that always do that to me, but talking complete nonsense. But as long as they're practicing the grammar correctly, I let them carry on. And then when we get to a competency slide or whatever, I bribe them with a wow star or something like that to actually show them they have to do it properly.
I think in the uni when I just started properly learning grammar of English and stuff, I found it really boring. So to kind of get myself entertained, to do my homework, I prepared the silliest sentences for present simple, like I have chocolate in my shoe or whatever, and I would deliver that to my study group. The sentences were all grammatically correct. They were just about blood on the floor and chocolate in the shoe. Oh, I was that.
Chocolate in the shoe. What a
interesting combination.
I was that type of student.
But wait, Lauren, what is a superstar, by the way?
Basically, I have my normal stars, which might look something like this, or...
And then they correlate with the star in the lesson.
Yes, basically, or something like that. But then when they do a very, very good job, and they basically blow my mind, or I want to spur them on to get them motivated, but they have also done a very good job, then I give them a wow star, which is worth 2 stars. So it helps them build up their stars quite quickly. And then I've got 6 wow stars, but they only need 4 to be a superstar. So I've got kids who will really strive to get as many of these stars as possible because they want to be told that they are a superstar.
I
at
know
the end
for
of the
sure
lesson.
that I would be like going at it to get that superstar. Let's move on with that first situation.
So let's imagine you have an overactive student that runs away from the computer, maybe brings you stuff, but generally doesn't really listen.
What do you do? Like it's all open to the floor. Just bring in your suggestions, whatever thoughts.
I call them in an opera voice.
Please demonstrate,
Yep.
Stephen.
You do? Can you call me an opera voice?
I just keep calling them.
And does it work?
Sometimes. Sometimes it does. Because it also attracts the parents' attention.
Ah, so like, why is my teacher doing like Montserrat Caballé stuff? Like,
That the parents' attention. I've got a kiddie who I've built a good relationship with, but sure, he is very inattentive. And the mom leaves him to his lessons. So if he starts getting distracted, I say, "Ooh, should I call mom?" And then he like sits down immediately. And okay.
you
So
can
he's
just
obviously at the
threatening
level.
kids over here.
But it works because the mom comes in and she like speaks to him in I don't know what language.
I mean, sure, it works.
So that's one way, but it's different with every child.
Yeah. So for now, we have like our options: an opera voice and threat. Anybody else?
I have had that a few times. The one child I remember, it was a level 0 child, and we happened to be doing the unit on toys. So, for example, I saw her going off and I knew that she was going to her toy box. So I held up, for example, a doll saying, "This is my doll, where is your doll?" And I actually got her to bring her doll to the lesson.
So she got back.
Yes. And I do try and attract the children back in the context of the lesson if I can. So, you know, if the verb is jump, and say, "Come, jump," and then maybe the kid will jump back to the computer. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Otherwise, also I'm with Stephen, opera voice. So it's all.
Here we go.
Guys, you just sound like a bunch of things.
My last resort. We only
No,
have
that's
5
my
minutes.
first resort.
I also threaten like the stars to go away. And so I'll like call them and then I'll do a countdown and be like 3, 2, 1 and be like, "Oh no, bye star, bye." And then they'll come back because they don't want the star to go away. And then be like, "Oh, good job." And then I give them a star full.
Ah,
Imagine
see,
if we
away.
could
back with
take
good
the
old
stars away.
It
threats.
works.
Is it a
Nice.
threat? It's kind of a threat.
Mhm. Yeah, I do something similar. I'll say, "Oh, no star? Uh-oh." And then they're like, wait, I'm coming. Yeah.
I
Fairly
see.
new on NovaKid, so I haven't had that happen to me yet,
Ah.
thankfully. And also,
come.
I always have like, I know it will. But I think I would, Stephen's idea was actually quite good because I did notice that they really love singing. Like if you sing to them, they really do pay attention. So I think I would do that. The singing would definitely be something that I would rely on.
See, so we're just bringing up opera singers now. No, NovaKid, the opera division when?
There we go.
So good ideas. I do hope a lot of teachers will be singing soon to bring their kids back. The next situation, I think Stephen mentioned that. So we have parents, maybe helicopter parents, you've heard of that, who always try to help the kid. They translate stuff, feed them answers, basically act like 2 new teachers together with you. Happen to the best of us. If it doesn't, I don't want to say that it will happen again. It probably will. So what do you guys do?
It's a tough one. I try and be as polite as possible and say, thanks, Mom. You know, or thanks, Dad. Kind of like, shut up. You know, get the point.
Bro, back off.
But it is really hard. Like, sorry, you need to try and do it in the feedback as well. Sorry.
So I found it hasn't really worked for me during the lesson to get the parents to stop. But I have found that being quite direct in the feedback has helped. I had a student recently, I inherited her somehow, and the mom, with the first lesson I had with her, was just feeding her the answers the whole time. And in that feedback, I said to her, thank you so much for your support during the lesson, but it's very overwhelming and confusing for your child if both you and I are basically correct. Yeah, if both you and I are correcting her, it's very overwhelming for the student. So I would suggest that you allow the teacher to correct or to help your child. And it helps.
Stephen is the type of person to write a strongly worded letter to the management.
Yes.
His female name would be Karen.
Karen.
Yeah.
I think a lot of like issues with asking parents to stop during the lesson is not a lot of them actually know English themselves. So it's like, what are you saying? They don't know.
Yeah.
I find that during the lesson, my go-to phrase is, it's okay, Mum, or it's okay, Dad. And generally the parent will say, okay, or, you know, something along those lines. And then in the feedback, I do something similar to Stephen, although not as strongly worded. I say something along the lines of that, if you as the parent are giving too much assistance, I can't see what your child really knows, and therefore I don't know how much help they still need to grasp that concept. So
that's a good one.
That's
As long as they read the feedback.
That is the problem.
I was just going to say, sometimes parents don't. I have a student who actually gets really cross with her mum because her mum always sits behind her. Always. And she's lovely and she's so sweet, but she keeps saying or translating to her child, and her little girl is like, and I'm like, you go, girl. You
that
get
actually
so
something like that happened. My brother, my little brother, he's 10. He studies at Novakid too. And my mom used to try to be around and maybe sometimes like help. But she doesn't know any English at all. So she tried to like give him answers a couple of times, and he was like,
bombastic side eye, criminal offensive side eye.
So the next one I think was mentioned also before in this conversation. So you have a new student, or maybe it's like a relatively new student, a couple of classes together, and they keep silent. Just maybe they're shy, or they're scared, or they feel not confident in their skills, but they keep silent no matter what they say, what you say or do. Just like they said, what would you do?
Tegan, you're muted though.
Sorry, I've had this before, and it was in the last 5 minutes that the child said their first like word. So it was 20 minutes of no speaking. But it was, I just let the child click and draw. Obviously find yellow. We were learning the color yellow. So she never said yellow, but she eventually then clicked yellow. So she was at least learning to identify the colors. And then towards the end, finally said the colors. But yes, it was a long.
Was it like a completely new student, or
it was a trial lesson? So it was obviously like the first time she'd been in.
Did they return?
I don't know. I can't remember. I mean, so many trials, so many people you see once and never see again. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. Any other ideas?
So I've currently got a student. I didn't do the trial with him. I've got him sort of along the way, and he is always in a bad mood. How old is he? He's 8. 7.
Same.
He's always in a bad mood. Always. And when I first started with him, I couldn't get him to say one word. And it's taken, how many months has he been with me? Maybe 5 or 6 months. And now I can kind of get a smile out of him every now and then, and he is becoming more vocal. So it's just a lot of patience.
Maybe just is one of those kids who like doesn't really want to study, but like the parents force them, so just like, okay.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Same.
I think I had that lot. Most of my students are like that you need to ask what are they looking for, so, and what did you do after school, something like that. You need to get their attention so they can focus. Usually the parents are insisting them to study in NovaKid, because I have that one student, maybe he is 14 years old. Like when you're asking, how about you? How are you today? Fine. You just do that and they make face like that.
Yeah. It's like, you don't need to bring me that attitude, bro.
Yeah. So I need to find different ways.
My next case might be a bit of a sore topic for some of the teachers, but generally, let's say a parent of your student is asking to remove maybe a competency or a topic from all of the lessons. For example, they don't want the student to learn to read, or they don't want to learn about any celebrations, maybe like Christmas. How can you act in this case?
I remember having that at one stage, and I said to the parent that often, in order for the child to complete the exercises independently, they have to read what is on the slide, because they have to read the question or they have to read the gap fill. So we have to look at reading as well as speaking. And I told them that in the lesson, and then after the lesson, just to make sure there were no other misunderstandings, I wrote the same thing in the feedback. And I actually don't recall if that student came back to me, but I didn't get anything back from NovaKid to say that I had done something wrong. So I'm assuming I was in the right.
Okay. That's great. But that is honestly like a very tricky thing, because like if they don't want to, like, what do you do?
I've had an opposite situation. So I've got a student who's on level 4, and he's a diligent student. He's fluent. He really does well. And the mom has twice written to NovaKid to tell me that I must fail the competencies so that he can do the extra practice lessons. And I just don't see the point, because
But he did need it.
I don't feel he needs it. But she wants me to fail the competencies so that he can do extra practice lessons.
So did you?
So the first time they contacted me and I wrote back to support, I said, look, I don't see the point of doing this, because he's a very good student. And they wrote back and said, look, this is what the parent wants. So
I see. So, Lauren.
But do you have to fail all the competencies so that so that he gets the reading lessons, the grammar lessons, and the speaking lessons, or do they just want him to do the extra speaking lessons?
So there hasn't been any clarity with that. So what I did, because he's just had a competency lesson, and what I've done is I've failed the speaking parts, because the automatic competencies he does, and he does it well, and he knows what he's doing. But I failed the speaking parts, and we'll see if the parent writes back.
Well, yeah, I think speaking is one thing that you can actually bring something else into and at least entertain him, like bring into, say, something more, and more speaking is always good. Cinnabon, what about you?
For me, it would depend. If I also feel like, okay, maybe they do need some more speaking practice or reading. But if I feel like they actually need what they say I must remove, I would try and explain to the parents that I think maybe if we try and do this, it might help them. Like, for example, I feel like they have problems with comprehension when it comes to reading comprehension. So if we do that, let him read and also practice answering the questions, it will also help them become more advanced in their comprehension. So I would just basically try and explain to them how this task will benefit the student if we don't skip it. Yes.
Yeah, I think that will work as long as the parent can like at least basically comprehend English. Otherwise, just maybe wire support. And I think our last topic today is a bit of a funny one. I'm not up to me. I'm not sure how funny it is to you, because I think a lot of you remember. So you have asked, like, it's a new student and the name maybe is in Arabic or in Korean or something, and you have asked like 3 times, what's your name, dear? And they say something and you cannot comprehend that or pronounce. What do you do?
Just don't use the name.
Like, what do you use instead?
Nothing.
Hey, you!
I don't know what to do.
Really? Yeah, actually, if you notice that the teacher cannot pronounce or understand the name, there will be a lot of bunnies, dears, sweethearts, darling.
I tell you what, this is actually terrible when this happens. I am even ashamed to admit it, but you know, I have been working at NovaKid now for 3 years. All right. I saw 3 kids for over a year before I was corrected on the pronunciation of their name. The one kid, I was calling her by her surname, not her first name.
Was she Asian?
Yes.
Rookie mistake.
Yes. And yeah, but basically all of them happen to be Asian kids, and slowly but surely I have been corrected. Like, for example, you know, when the kids first start level 0, you have to work through what is your name, my name is. And then by the time that's over, you think you've perfected the student's name. And it's only when you get all the way to the first unit of level 1, and then all of a sudden, what is your name? Just to, you know, recap that and make sure the kid can answer the question. And then all of a sudden, the name that they're giving you is completely different to what they gave you previously, but it's also because their pronunciation has become clearer and you've learned to, you know, be able to understand what they're saying. And then all of a sudden you can actually figure out, oh, so that's your name. It's like, why didn't you tell me?
Yeah, teachers have mispronounced my brother's name a bit, and he just rolls with it. He's just like, whatever.
I had a substitute class with the students. So obviously, the first time meeting him, asked him his name, he told me. Then, like, it was maybe a month or 2 months later, I had him again as a substitute. But now in the feedback, or no, the details of the child, it's so he's from Saudi Arabia or one of the Arab countries. So it's RYL is his name with no vowels. And I'm like, I know I've had you before, but I have absolutely no idea how to say your name. And I had to ask him again, and it was so embarrassing because I've had him before, shame.
Maybe he doesn't remember you.
Maybe it's
yeah.
I wasn't memorable.
With Arabic names, it happens a lot. So I actually have a bit of a life hack for that one. So if you're preparing beforehand, you can type in a copy-paste a name into Google Translate, and it will not only transcribe it for you, but also pronounce it, so you can even train with it. It's really quite helpful. I used to do that a lot.
So simple.
Just give some encouragement to Stephen. So if I see a child for the first time, and then there's like a couple of months or a couple of weeks, I just introduce myself again, because there's no guarantee that the kid, after seeing me once, is going to remember my name. So I just make it out as if we're just going through the thing again. So I'll say, my name is Teacher Lauren. What's your name? And then I will remember how to pronounce the name. and then say, yes, it's so nice to see you again. How are you? You know, let's go. You know, so make it a big welcoming thing. I don't
That's
think
a
the
good
kids
idea.
pick up that it's because you don't remember. If you know you've
Remember
seen the
him.
kid, just acknowledge that you have seen them previously and you're happy to see them again.
As long
That's
as
a
you're
good idea.
confident, honestly.
Yes, exactly.
Goes a long way.
So, good work, guys. A lot of useful advice has been shared today, and I think it will be good not only for new teachers, but will work for experienced ones just as well. And on that note,
That will be it for us. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Katja. Thank you,
Thank
Lauren.
you.
Thank you, Sino, for me.
Have a good
Bye.
day.